Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to show you how to make a decorative roped edge. This is real useful process, say for knife guards, butt caps, or pommels, I guess knife makers would say. I use it in decorative door knockers. I'll have some of my work that I've done with chased in roping. That's the method that we're going to be using today. This method was taught to me by Tom Latane of Pepin, Wisconsin. I took a class with him. He's a master locksmith. And I also took a 2-week apprenticeship with him up at his home forge in Pepin, Wisconsin. You can Google some of his work. Real great guy, real great instructor. If you live stateside, he'd be a great class to take. He always teaches he has multiple schedules of places he teaches, but he also teaches at Touchstone Center for Crafts. This isn't a sponsored video. I'm sponsored in no way by no one. It's just a great place. I've enjoyed taking classes over the last 5 years. So if you get a chance in your stateside, definitely a place to check out. Anyways, these processes were taught by him in class, and I found them really neat, and they're a real great way of embellishing your work. So, hope you like this video, and thanks for watching. Okay, here we go. So, the first step in making a decorative roping on any piece of metal, you want to make sure you have your piece clean of scale. This is without cleaning. This has mill scale on it. This does not. Reason why is it tool longevity. The tools that you use are little butcher tools, and then you also use little small needle files to create the roping or to create the roped edge or the chased bit of the steel. And those edge tools against mill scale, that mill scale is a really hard oxide, iron oxide finish, and it just dullens the tool quicker, and then you have to do more redressing. So that's step one. You always want to take and have a real clean, hold on, coming up to the thing, okay, you guys can see. Anyways, you always want to have a really good clean steel surface. It doesn't have to be polished, it just has to have the main mill scale removed off of it. You can do that in multiple ways. My favorite way is what I was taught by Tom Latane, which was pickling, and essentially just soaking the steel or the piece that you're going to be chasing in vinegar. And if you can put it, if it's a small piece like for a lock or a real small piece, knife guard handle or whatever, you can even put it in a crock pot, which speeds the process up. Instead of having to wait a couple days for it to be pickled, heating and agitating the solution will greatly quicken that process down to maybe even just an hour or two. I can do a separate video maybe at a later date if there's enough interest in it, about pickling steel and other materials and the effects. But enough of that. So clean steel, that's a must, okay? And then the second must is you need butcher tools. A butcher tool is anything with a leading edge. I don't know if you guys can see that in the shot here, but anything with one slope and a leading edge, that is a butcher tool. What this does is as you press it down into the material, it pushes the material away from a specific spot or point. Okay, and I'm going to show you how that works in practicality here in just a second. So that's step one. And you need a properly sized butcher tool to the project that you're working on. If you're working on much heavier stock or you want to get a much deeper impression for chasing, you want a much heavier duty butcher tool. If you just need a light impression, you use a lighter tool. Simple as that. So there's the butcher. The next thing you will need is you will need a small chisel. All my chisels and things of this nature are all my chasing tools are made out of coil spring. Don't ask me what type because I don't know. It's just scrap coil spring that I have that I've straightened out and made these. I've got a video on straightening coil spring. You guys can watch that if you want to. yeah, you're just going to need a very small, fine-edged chisel, and that's going to strike in the lines for the rope. The next tool you will need is a very narrow-edged or a 1/16 radius fuller. I don't know if you can see that. It almost looks like a chisel in of itself, except it's just blunt. If you don't have these tools, they're real quick to make. You can follow the heat treating methods that I did in another video. That should help you out to make these just fine. So those are essentially the tools, but the last one, and probably the most important tool to making this look clean on the chasing end of things, is a little square-faced planishing punch, if you will. Punch, top tool, however you want to call it. Just flat. The edges are slightly radiused, so this way it doesn't leave marring marks. And all you do is you work over the surface of the steel with light taps, and it planishes out any rough marks or hammer marks. Essentially much in the same way as like a flatter. I use a 8-ounce hammer that I forged myself out of some 1045 flat face hammer. It has a bit of a crown to it, so that way it's a little more ergonomic when it hits this the punch or the chisel. So this way I don't have to, you know, focus so much on hitting the punch, and I can focus on what I'm doing. And then the very last tool that you will need is a set of needle files. So hopefully that camera's not going bonkers. It might be. Filming this by myself, so we'll see how this goes here. Yeah, you just need a good selection of needle files. This helps you to get into any areas that you want to clean up. You can leave this roping edge, depending on the project and how well it's going to be viewed or how close up. You can leave it as rough or cleanly finished as you'd like. In lock work, you really finish stuff really clean, almost pristine, like factory made. It's just it's a mark of professionalism and quality. But on this, I won't bother with all the filing and stuff. Otherwise, it'd be a real long video. I'm just going to show you the beginning steps here, what we're doing. So we'll get rid of that. I'll grab a slightly bigger hammer here than my 8-ounce. Not over a pound. I'm going to use this hammer on the bigger chisel to overcome the mass, that bigger butcher tool, if you will. I'm going to use it first. So the first step is you got to think of where you want your line to be, okay? And wherever your line, the rope's going to be, you want to come off to either side of that with the butcher, like so. And like so, to each side. Hopefully you can see this, and we haven't ran out of time. Good. Alright, it says I got 12 minutes left on the camera. So, let's try to get this done in that amount of time. So, you want to find out where you want to be. As this isn't critical, I'm just going to go just about anywhere. And I'm going to strike a line. And most chasing, by the way, unless it's on really heavy steel, is always done cold. There's no point in doing it hot, because by the time you get your accuracy in, you know, and find the groove and find where you need to be, you've just about lost your heat. And, you know, you're not doing any better than you would have been doing cold in the first place. So this is the first step here in chasing. So as you can see, it's giving me a little flat. Let's come up here around the camera, speak a little softly. You can see the little bit of a bank that we're getting there, and then a sharp line. That's the first stage. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and take this out of the vise real quick, and just so you can see, hopefully, I don't know if the camera will focus in on that. There's a bank, and then there's a sharp line. Now all we're going to do is take the chisel. It was in this orientation. We're going to flip it around and strike off another line just next to that one. So, get it up here, get it tightened back in the vise. If you're working on a finished piece already, you know, that you've done a lot of forging and you've done a lot of cleanup work, you probably don't want to just lock it just straight in the vise, because the jaws will have a tendency to tear it up. In which case you can just bend you some real quick pieces of copper and put them over the jaws, and that'll stop any marring that may happen. They call them soft jaws here in the US. But anyways, we're going to deepen this line a little bit. Okay. You just want a good, clear, definitive line here. So now, like I said, we were this way. Now we're going to flip it around and go this way. And I'm going to set it over about, you want to leave yourself enough room here. I'm going to set it over about 1/8 of an inch and start striking a line. So I go from the far side of it, or from the near side, put a dot on the corner. That's my setup. I'll do about another 1/8 of an inch on the far side. There's my setup there, and then I'll connect the two. And that'll give me a nice, accurate line. A lot of these processes that I'm doing right now are applicable to all sorts of ironwork. Mainly, I haven't even gotten out of just doing basic processes here. I mean, chiseling, that's one of the first things you should have learned as a beginner in it. This technique is what I would consider more intermediate in level, as far as skill level goes, to get it right, to get it to look good. But the nice thing about it is say you're a beginner, you can start practicing this now, and you can actually get pretty darn good at it, to where you don't have, maybe you're not a professional at everything else. It's just a good practice to practice good chiseling techniques on a very small project that, hey, you can even do even without a forge. So, which makes it handier even yet. You can buy chasing tools online, different places. I don't know any offhand. I've been told you can. So we'll just put that out there. I'm going to put these in the vise, these copper jaws. They might help hold the material just a little tighter. Get it tightened up here. Okay. Yeah, you can buy these chisels online. I've never had the need because I've always just made my own. So that's probably one of the things where I would say this is more of an intermediate process, intermediate to advanced in the smithing realm. Okay, so there we go. We got a line. So I just locked this thing down, but now I'm going to take it out. All right. See if you guys can see this here. All right. See that line? That is the start of what will become our decorative roping. We had to push this material out of the way to cause this to stand proud enough that we can turn it into a rope. Had you done this the other way, you would have really sharp lines to the left and right, and you'd have a peak in the center. And that you could never really actually turn into a rope. It just wouldn't give the same effect. Sometimes that's a neat effect that you can do, but you know, it's you can experiment with that yourself and see what I'm talking there. But the next step is this is flat and it's got a sharp raw edge to the left and the right. And what we need to do is we need to push those edges together and round this off. And the way we are going to do that is with our flat butcher here, our flat punch, or our planishing tool, coming in at a diagonal and tapping and taking off the corners of that square, much like you would do to round up stock. You take off the corners first, and then you take off those corners, and then you work the whole piece, and you get a nice radius. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'll lock this up in the vise here again. You know, I'm not hitting the material. One thing to say, I need to remount my vise here. Get my other tool out of the way here. One thing I want to say about this is I am not just mashing the heck out of this material either. You know, this is a finesse thing. So, so we're going to set this punch right on the corner of that square, and we're going to hit it, and we're just going to work that edge over. Okay, don't go too far. Flip it over to the other track. Nice steep angle. And push that back the other way. I really hope you guys are enjoying this video so far. This is a technique that I was completely oblivious to until I took Tom Latane's class. I can't thank him enough for being a good friend and a mentor to me, and teaching me, you know, putting out his knowledge out there to teach people. There's a little bit of a sharp point out here on the edges, and I'm just cleaning those up with a planishing tool. And I wish I could get my camera in a little closer and show you guys like immaculately up close and just, you know, what's actually going on here. I hope you can see pretty good. I mean, you can see quite a bit, but maybe, yeah. Gosh, I wish I could get you a little closer on that. For this next part, I'm gonna go ahead and clip out here, guys, and try to reset the camera up a little closer and see if you guys could get a little better view of what we just did. But essentially, we just pushed those two pieces up into a pyramid-like shape, and now we're gonna work off that pyramid and then round it up. But let me see what I can do here about the camera, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, ladies and gents, that looks like that's going to be about as close as I can get it with this field of view on this camera. I'm running a Nikon camera to shoot this with a 50mm lens. Maybe there's somebody that's out there that would know a better aspect ratio of lenses to use for really close-up shots. Just drop me a comment in the comment section below. I'd like to be able to get you guys in on stuff like this and teach some more of these type processes. But hopefully you can see this well enough for what we're doing here. All we're going to do is go over our little tip here. And like I said, use this as a little flatter. We're just planishing out our marks. So, if you can't see it, that's what we're doing. We're just planishing out all these marks. At the end of this video, I'll show you guys a lot of my work that I've done with this. And I will actually show you this piece, a finished product of this piece with a close-up shot. My wife is a lot more talented than I am at, you know, getting close-up views of this stuff with things. I'm not exactly computer or camera savvy, so you guys will have to bear with me here. So all we're doing is just, you know, taking those really big hammer marks and turning them progressively into smaller hammer marks, and then we're working off those smaller hammer marks and lightly tapping it and taking out even more of those smaller hammer marks. I'll do a video on planishing. I think it'll be a good video for people to understand what you're doing here. I'll just say a little bit about it now. Planishing is essentially, as what it means to planish, is to bring the material to plane or in plane. So whatever the plane is that the original bar is, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring any of your dips and valleys and whatnots all to the same plane. And that's essentially the jargon for planishing. Not real technical there, you know, there's no magic about this. This isn't some secretive thing that I'm doing here. It's just a pretty old process. Before we had belt sanders and good files and all that other stuff, this is the way you cleaned up a lot of your work. So, alright. So now, we've got that planished out pretty good. See if I can get a shot here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So hopefully you guys can see that there. I'm looking over the camera. I think you can see it. Now we got that as a pretty nice looking little radius there. You can see I wasn't hitting real hard. I was just working the material all around. When you're working with mild steel, or any other steel, say it's a high carbon steel that you're doing this on, that's been annealed, eventually it will work harden on you, and you may have to take another annealing heat on it as you go there. You know, just something to think about. I'm going to clean up these grooves a little bit. Making sure not to hit my rope. We just want to reestablish those grooves. Make sure they're nice and clean. So, yeah, this won't take much filing at all to clean that up or to go that route. Alright, so next part here is we're going to come in here and we're going to do some roping. Actually, before we do that, we're going to give this a little more lift by coming in with our small little 1/16, or yeah, it's about a 1/16 inch fuller, and we're going to come in just to the side of the rope each side and try to round out the bottom a little bit. So we're going to use our smaller hammer, a little 8-ounce hammer, and we're just going to come in here. And what this is going to do for that rope is it's going to give that rope a little bit of undercut to kind of make it look like it's a rope sitting on the steel. And that's what we're going for here. We're trying to give it an optical illusion of being a rope. You'll ooh and ah all your friends and family, and they'll say, oh, make me a door knocker, make me a handle guard with rope edging, and you're going to be like, no way, Jose, there's a lot of work in that. Are you crazy? Or maybe you're not. Maybe that's just me, but I've been asked a lot, so I guess I'm a bad family member. Oh, man. Anyways, good reflecting while I'm talking to you all here and teaching. So, alright, so got that little bit of an undercut. It sharpens, and it also picks up this material just a little bit. And it's actually, whether you can see it or not, it's a little taller than what the rest of the surface of the material is. And that's what we want. So the next step is we're going to come in with what I call a lining chisel, or try to see here, see if I got a little smaller one to use. Not one that would be productive. So, okay, I'll just stick with what I got. Pretty much, this is our little slit chisel, like a little small forging chisel. And we're going to start at your guys' end, and we're going to work back towards ourselves. And I'm going to see how bad that just got out of focus. Man, that got out of focus. My hand's way in the way. How about that? Yeah, that's better. Okay, you guys can see that, right? Okay. So, we're going to start at a diagonal, because, you know, most rope is twisted rope. And so it starts at a diagonal. It wouldn't look much like roping if you just did straight lines. Until you get comfortable with it, you can try that first. But it's just as easy to do a diagonal. So all we're doing is coming in at a severe angle, dropping way down low to try to get the bottom of it, and creating a crease, a cut. And then you're just coming up and slowly rocking over the top. But don't go too far, because you can end up chiseling into your other bank. So now we'll drop that corner down low again, give it a few taps, and then back over the top. And now, I don't know if you guys can see that real good. Nope, I'll bring you over in on the top after we get a few of these done. This is starting our roping. The biggest trick to make this look as roped as possible, and you can hear how light these taps are, is to try to keep it as even as possible. And not only pressure of hits that you're doing, but spacing. You know, a rope's pretty well spaced out pretty nicely. So, you know, just keep that in mind as you go along. Once again, we're trying to give this optical illusion of roping. In Tom's class, he does a real, his roping is, well, hell, he's got 30 more years of experience than I do at it. I mean, he was the instructor of it. His roping is just phenomenal. I mean, you'd swear there's actual rope choking a piece of steel. Like I said, you really ought to Google him, check out his work. If you get a chance to take a class with them, take a class with them. It's life-changing for your ironwork. That's just a suggestion from a guy that obviously has a bit of a man crush on him. So that's said, he's a mentor of mine, so can't say enough about him. Can't talk highly enough. So I'm gonna add one more little rope detail right out here at the very edge, just to see like it trailed off. I just want this rope to look like it really just kind of trailed off there into oblivion. So, all right. So that roping's done, and I lied to y'all about not filing it in front of you. I'm just going to go ahead and do that now because I do not like the way it's looking. So this right here, when you do this, it leaves little burrs or it leaves little rough edges, and you just got to work those down. So keeping in mind, files only cut on the push stroke. We're going to take those sharp edges off. I'll be right back with y'all in a second, get you readjusted so maybe you can see the roping from the top. We'll do this. We'll do a little clip out thing, that way you guys don't get motion sickness. And if you do this, remember, don't get carried away with a file. You know, you're just trying to take the little burrs off. You're not trying to make this thing, you know, shiny, perfect, whatever. Don't expect to do it right the first time. It takes a little bit of practice, but you guys will get it, and it can really be a big asset to your ironwork. So, alright, next clip I'll show you a little bit of that finished product here, and then at the end of the video you'll see some of my work where I've got some chasing in it, and then you'll also see the finished, you know, a real close-up shot of this finished product. So let me readjust the camera, give a few more talking points, and we'll be done. Okay there, ladies and gents, here it is. So as you can see, I've got some little lines in there as they're roping. This will look a lot better when it's less shiny. There we go. That works. Big gloved hand. That light coming down from the top really gives it a real shine. You can't see what I'm doing there, but you can see that roping coming across that like that. You know, one of the things we would do to finish this up is I would actually planish out these bevels here. Try to planish these out a little bit, so that way it's a little more gradual coming into it. And then, you know, once again, that gives it, it gives it the effect of a rope. So, which was our intention in the first place. So, anyways, hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button. You know, and if you like my videos enough that you care to give it a subscribe, I greatly appreciate that too. I'm trying to release 3 new videos a week, and just keep this as a going thing, well, from now until the Lord calls me home. So hopefully that'll work well for everybody, and I can keep imparting some sort of information out there for you guys. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.